Price with the ball. And that'll do it. The Cavs one step closer to a playoff berth with their win here. And their fans have to be pleased with that.
Yeah, they did a lot to up their chances of playing more than 82 games this year, Kevin. This was a big win on a big stage for the Cavs.
And that'll wrap it up for Clark Kellogg in Dorisburg. This is Kevin Harlan, and thanks for tuning in.
Reading this shit again, you know what it is. Hey, yo guys, this is Jared, aka the Saint of Sins on Xbox Live, coming back at you basketball lovers with some NBA 2K11 Michael Jordan Challenge on Hall of Fame difficulty against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the chase for 69 points. Our last attempt at this one saw me fall just short in overtime as I missed some crucial shots with Scottie Pippen in the closing moments. Nothing more painful than being so close and yet so far at the same time. The clip at the beginning was one of the more unexciting attempts at this challenge where I got beat up on the inside by Brad Daugherty. That one was a struggle and it left me looking for any kind of tips to better run on Hall of Fame to get the win, because so far, that's the biggest hurdle for me to climb over in these challenges, getting that all-important W. So this time around, we're going with the cheese option of running the full court press to force as many turnovers as I can, because winning this game off the boards is near on impossible. The other thing, I'm hoping to crash inside the paint more to try and draw more trips to the line. I want to stop the clock to gain some ground on the scoreboard as often as I feel this one beginning to slip away from me. I always want to take advantage of the charity stripe to avoid having to gain a bulk of the points on some poorly released shot attempts when I try to press the issue. With any luck, I should knock down everything with a green release. Yeah, right. Hopefully this time around I won't have to live and die by the 3-ball. Last attempt you all saw, I jacked up 27 from beyond the arc, nailing only 14. But enough about the past. So far I've collected the first trip to the line of the game. With any luck, I'll actually be on top of Jordan's free throw release this go around, unlike the other times. It's odd. It's the simplest release in the game to master, and yet I have trouble with it on a few occasions. I guess I'll chalk that up to nerves. And that I have none. But this is the challenge after all, trying to win these games by having to play outside of my comfort zone, having to rely more on Jordan, having to race against the clock to keep with a pace for both scoring and assists, having to run almost no plays to free up lanes. Okay, I've never run plays previously, but after getting really familiar with some money plays for St. Jared and NBA 2K12's My Player mode, I suddenly see how much easier this all could be if I just learned some really clutch plays to call for Jordan to get the ball. I think I fell in love with the Washington playbook because of the simple plays that free guys up so quickly. I wish I had some of those when I was running this challenge. But in all honesty, I don't know how well I'd be able to execute them, as I've always relied on AI teammates to make the tough decisions once I pass the ball. So far I've been keeping a pretty good pace despite having to claw my way into the paint to get some good shots, or take some good hacks to end up at the foul line. IKC would be proud right about now. Team 5-second free throws living strong out here. And that's where I want to win this battle. Limit their trips to the line, or only foul their worst free throw shooters while raising my number of trips as often as I can. Preferably with Jordan. And if I could put their guys in foul trouble, maybe I can force some of those generic fill-in players to be used. Not likely, given the game can sometimes hack you to hell and back and never give you a call, but it's worth a shot. So far my defense has been pretty strong, most notably in the paint. Thankfully my sagging off at the perimeter hasn't killed me just yet, but I'm sure that'll come back to bite me directly in the ass sooner or later. And with 2K11's infamous phantom calls like that over the back on Daugherty, I'm only inching closer to my goal of getting every Cav player into foul trouble. But that's the tempo I need to press. Getting them to collapse on me inside the paint to generate more foul calls is something that's going to get tougher as the game wears on, because they're going to start double teaming Jordan just out of habit. But for now, I've got a window to press the offense with Jordan in those one-on-one defensive matchups. All I've got to do is force turnovers, capitalize, and prevent them from climbing back in with perimeter shooting. So long as I can limit my own empty trips by forcing them to give the ball back up with this strategy, I should be golden. All I have to do is maintain this strategy through the remaining 3 quarters, adjust where needed when the Cavs start adapting to what I'm doing, and continue to pull together good runs in my favor. But I still need to be smart with the ball. Getting blocked off an inbound steal nets me no gain, and that's something I can't afford to do on turnovers. I need to convert those into points, otherwise I'll be stuck on this challenge forever. That means being more careful with the ball than they are, and scoring on every possession to force them to keep up with me. I've got to drive this tempo, I've got to own this pace, but more importantly, I've got to tighten up on my perimeter defense, because like I said, it was eventually going to start biting me in the ass as Elo demonstrated on that corner 3 ball. But then again, it's still early and the score's still tight. A baseline drive to the basket for the reverse jam is actually far more effective in building my confidence moving forward than I would have initially given credit. But no matter what I do, you can't ever count the Hall of Fame difficulty AI out. After all, this game is infamous for the AI making a higher percentage of their contested shots. Falling behind by more than 2 possessions isn't something I want to do, because having to rely more on my defense to force missed shots is going to be problematic in trying to narrow gaps. It's high on impossible to get the computer to miss their shots, thus why I have to play more for the turnovers. Forcing an empty possession this way is far more likely than trying to play stingy defense that prevents them from even getting a contested look. Having fallen down 7 thanks to 2 ugly open misses by Paxson, a double team crashing on Jordan has me finding Scotty at the top of the key to sink a 3-pointer to claw me back into this fight. If I can keep this type going into the half, I may have a chance of pulling this one out. Typically that's the quarter that the AI will just go off, but I'm hoping I can answer back immediately after all of their buckets, scoring in 7 seconds or less, much like this 3-pointer by Jordan. Ice in the veins, that's what this challenge is demanding of me. And rise to this challenge I will as I sink my 3rd straight 3-pointer to pull me back within 2. Now to get back to bullying them on the inside with my defense. Doherty went off on me before. I'm not going to allow him the opportunity to do it again. If they're going to beat me, they'll have to do it with Elo, Price, and Kerr from the wing. They're not getting easy looks underneath this time around. Beat me at the perimeter because I refuse to get beat up inside again. Offensively, however, I want that inside and I want them to crash me hard. Send me back to the line with a chance to tie this game back up before the half. No sweat off my back in this one. I've been lights out from the line this time. Like I said, easiest free throw release in the entire game and I had problems with it in the previous attempt. Not this game, however. Looking to make it 8 for 8 from the charity stripe, and we're only now about to end the first half. If I keep this up, I should be able to get maybe 3 more trips to the line before we end the game. But it's going to be tight on the scoring front as this is a really low scoring affair. We've only put up roughly half of what we need to reach our 69 points, and this means I'll have to keep pressing with Jordan instead of distribute the ball around. Keeping the pressure on them all the way up the court, I hope to keep this one tied walking into halftime. With Jordan being switched off to cover Price, the Cavs look to run their pick play that would free him up at the key. I've been scouting that play out to see just what kind of passing lanes it can create, but there isn't much you can do when you get a block that doesn't count because the AI just switches up its own animations to create a look underneath. Heading into the half, and once again I'm looking at Doherty as my main problem. 13 points for him means he's gotten some really good looks at the basket despite my tough interior defense. My biggest concern is how easily beaten we're getting on the board. So far they've managed to pull down 10 to our 5, but oddly enough, what's really killing us is that they're shooting 68% from the field despite all of the pressing I'm doing. I don't know what more I could do to keep them from making as many shots as they have been. I mean, you've seen the tough contested shots they've converted, and that block Scotty should have earned on Elo to end the half? What more can I do in those kind of scenarios? The game already has its script for this matchup, and it dictates that we're going to be battling tooth and nail throughout. All I can do is hope to keep up my scoring pace to still be competitive until the end. Right out of the gate, and you can see that even open looks I earn by running a play to free up Jordan off the ball don't get rewarded. Instead, it results in a bucket for Nance down the other side of the court. And this is something I don't get with 2K Sports in general. This artificial difficulty they create by having you inexplicably miss open looks that you earn by playing the right way, all while penalizing you for playing defense correctly and forcing tough contested shots on your opponent that they easily convert as if you weren't even there. There's almost no reward in playing this game on Hall of Fame difficulty because the experience isn't a skill-based rewarding system, it's a level of frustration you have to endure. Sure, a lot of YouTube sports commentators thrive on Hall of Fame for their My Player and My Career modes, but how many do you know rock on this difficulty when running the regular 5-on-5 modes? I mean, the only thing keeping me in this game is the full court press, which has netted me so far at least 3 turnovers. Without that, how many points do we shave off my score? Without those points, do I even stay within single digits of the Cavs? I know for some people, they figured out Hall of Fame difficulty with no problems, especially on the older titles such as this game here. But how fair is it that in order to be competitive on this difficulty that you have to use ridiculous schemes to make up for the fact that your defense just will not do enough to stop the AI from scoring? I know, I don't have to play this game on Hall of Fame. I don't have to complain about the highest difficulty setting of the game basically being an exercise in frustration more so than skill. But it's an option that exists, and one that I feel needs some tweaking. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the 2K community feels the difficulty is either just fine or too easy to score on simply because they've mastered some techniques that work for my player on my career mode. The game is no longer about 5-on-5 basketball, it's about hero ball and being a one-man scoring machine. That's just not my style, despite what I've been doing here with his airness. But like I said before, that's the challenge I have to overcome. I have to try and figure out not only how to run this entire unit to accomplish my end goal of winning the game, but I also have to try and be an effective scoring machine with one player for most of the game's length. This isn't about creating a testament for my skill at the game so much as it is a chance to grow as a player. Don't think of this as me setting up the argument that I'm a better player than guys who talk about being good at the game just because they mastered Hall of Fame difficulty while only running my player or my career mode. This is me just trying to stretch out my borders and boundaries and trying to establish something for myself. This channel isn't about trying to prove I'm the best player in the world, or even the best player on YouTube. This is me simply trying to provide some entertaining gameplay while challenging myself, because it can't be all that interesting to watch me just beat the crap out of any game on the lower difficulties. But irregardless of all of that, somehow I've managed to take the lead if for no other reason than that the AI isn't going off right now. Odd how this is working. I'm forcing a lot of turnovers, not just on the inbounds, but on their end of the court as Nance gives up his 4th turnover of the game on a steal by Stacey King. But this is still a marginal lead, one that I'm willing to blow as I throw up an ugly look with Jordan that becomes a fast break point for Elo on the other end. It all comes back down to my inability to be a consistent and smart scoring machine. I had no right to chuck up that shot. Using hindsight, I should have backed down my defender and start using my post moves. I doubt I would have drawn the double team in that scenario as it likely would have freed up a big underneath the basket. That's something I have to do better in the future. My decision making skills are absolutely atrocious. I'm like a deer in the headlights when it comes to thinking on the fly, and as a result of that, I'm choking away a lead I've earned this quarter through strong defense. This lead should be bigger if only I didn't play so scared and thought about the shot I wanted before trashing away a possession. But somehow, I'm not being penalized for terrible shot selection this quarter. Instead, I'm being rewarded. Elo ended up with an empty trip to the line that would have made this a 1-point game, and because of that, I'm now more confident in my shot selection as Jordan frees up at the wing off a pick. I don't know what the game's angle is here, because by all rights, I should be losing this quarter thanks to my earlier noted terrible shot selections. But somehow, Elo is icing out there, growing colder and colder by the moment, allowing me opportunities to extend this lead. So now I'm rolling onto positive grounds as I get the step off the triple threat to free up at the free throw line for another leaning J. And just like that, momentum is swinging in my favor. What should have been a tough to swallow quarter of regrets, second guesses, and blown opportunities has now flourished into a good run of confidence building. I'm building a strong case for the win while also managing a good pace for the scoring goal of 69 points. At this rate, I could be off and running with my plan of ball distribution, leaving the Cavs to overplay Jordan, freeing up other players to knock down shots. Well, at least I would hope that now they would knock down their shots. After all, we did see Paxson miss 2 open looks earlier in the game, as well as a missed open shot from Jordan, and then there was that open missed shot from Horace Grant as well. This game really does like to punish you for taking mid-range shots. And speaking of punishment, talk about a stupid foul at the end of the quarter to once again give the Cavs hope of life. That's another trip to the line for Elo, but oddly enough, he misses the first of his 2. He is single-handedly killing his team's momentum and allowing me great opportunities to build upon my lead. So what I initially thought to be a stupid foul turned out to be a good move. And just like that, we continue the pressure at the start of the 4th. The interior defense is getting stingier, their wings aren't being given the bulk of the scoring load to pick up where their bigs are failing them, and my scoring output is starting to swell up this nice ride towards the finish line. I can see the end of this challenge sitting firmly in my grasp, and all I have to do is grip it tight. It also doesn't hurt to get good blocks like that out of Paxson. I swear, there's something about Paxson's defense that just allows me to get more blocks than with most big men I play with. I also swear that this game will not cut me some slack in taking good open looks with good releases. So now I've missed open shots with Jordan, Grant, Armstrong, Pippen, and twice from Paxson. Amazing. But it's alright, we're still up. We're not hurting for those points. They're just nice cushions we could have added on top of this beating the Cavs are receiving. And once again, the Cavs call for that pick play for Price. I'm seeing the lanes it's trying to create, but this run has broken down on them. The only sensible move is to dump off to Elo on the wing, and in that transition, Williams is freed up to cut to the basket for an easy jam. Great. It's like Horace gave up on the play the second I switched off him to play on-ball defense on Elo. But we're still fine. We're going on a nice little run to add back to our lead. First, a full court press that allows Jordan the entire length of the court for an easy layup, and followed up with a shot from the college three-point line puts us up 11 and brings Jordan to the magic number of 67. Just 2 points and less than 5 minutes away from clinching this challenge. All I've got to do is keep up the tempo of trading buckets with them, matching them the whole quarter, and I've got this. Just need to avoid empty trips as often as I can so as to avoid closing this gap for them. It's just a matter of enduring them now. Sounds pretty easy in principle. But of course, nothing I do is ever easy. A blown dunk by Jordan leads to a 3 on the other end of the floor from Mark Price. Suddenly, the momentum is slipping. Again, all I have to do is match them for the length of the quarter and I'll be fine. But they're still tightening up on me, narrowing this gap with good looks and tough takes. That's been the theme to this entire game. I play them tough and they still keep up their scoring pace to stay close enough behind me to keep me sweating. This is only the second challenge on the menu and I'm still having difficulty managing the floor to lead my team to a victory. I've lost a bit of my lead, but I'm still up 8 after a tough take to the basket by Pippen. They're going to regroup on the timeout, and out of the gate I already know they're going to be looking for their wingman to help alleviate this pressure with some 3 balls. A lucky break on a terrible inbounds pass leads to a slow breakaway with Paxson charging, but unfortunately I don't convert once I try to force it with Jordan. The force on the other end by Doherty over Pippen results in another cut to my lead, bringing it now to 6. That's virtually 2 possessions, especially given that my perimeter defense has been trash all game long. And what great timing on my part to force my first turnover of the game with Jordan on a stupid backcourt violation. My momentum just carried me too far. Do you hear that? That's the sound of me choking right now. That's also the sound of them choking just as loud and just as hard. Maybe I can close this game out with a W. Or maybe I'm just setting myself up for an even more embarrassing finish. Just what was I even thinking there? I had no space from Price and this game was looking for a reason to strip me of the ball. So much for that tit-for-tat plan. I've allowed the Cavs an in by giving them a good run. I feel that noose tightening around my neck, so I'm panicking and returning to the well of relying upon Jordan to carry me the rest of the way. Now I'm starting to hurt for those missed open buckets from earlier. I'd like a do-over on those shots right now. Please? Or I could settle on some actual perimeter defense because giving Price that kind of distance was never going to end well for me. All I had to do was just hold out for 1 more minute, but apparently I couldn't even do that right. And I'm really starting to learn the mantra for this game. Only give the ball to Pippen if I'm not going to score on the play with Jordan. Okay, big break there with Price missing the tough jumper. They're going to be fouling me to try and close this gap with prayers of misses from the free throw line. But seeing a huge breakdown in their full court press, I've got lane to take off and get the 2 I need to keep that pressure up. Not much time left on the clock now, and they're going to be pressing to find good looks. But Elo passes up an open shot beyond the arc? No way he's passing that shot up a second time around, and no chance I'm passing up these lanes they're giving me. Just take flight and hopefully cruise into a strong finish for this game. That's going to signal a timeout from them. They're going to be talking about where their next shot is coming from. All I'm looking for is a stop to put this one to bed. Off the timeout, I know where they're going to be looking for their next shot, and I'm trying to set up 3-2 defense. But I'm not quick enough, and they're still within striking distance, and that's got me scared. But here's another break in my favor. Elo doesn't play Jordan tight, and I'm off to the races again to finish this game out with the victory. We're closing out with a 5-point lead with under 4 seconds left. This one is finished up, and I am done with this challenge. Time to roll that player of the game footage, and oh how sweet it will be. Hit it!